Sam before starting. He is a digital Sherpa. Actually, I'm not sure what does it mean, but it might be something like an evangelist, right? And he is father of three and also a DASA influencer from Brunel International. And we are very happy to welcome him today. In the first half, he will present the material, and in the second part, we will get your questions through Slido and Q&A part of the Zoom webinar. And also, let me tell one more thing. There is also a live interpretation for this session. And on the Zoom options, you will see that German. Actually, there is a problem with Zoom UI. We couldn't turn it into Turkish, but when you select German, you will hear Turkish translation interpretation. So don't bother with that. Arkadaşlar, Türkçe tercüme için Almanca German seçeneğini seçerseniz Türkçeyi duyabileceksiniz. Orada bir sorun var. Onu değiştiremedik. Kusura bakmayın. Okay, well, Sam, please introduce yourself before starting the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Sam Rosbergen. I will introduce myself later on. Let's talk about the Sherpa part. A Sherpa is like a mountaineer, a person that helps you climb mountains. So it's not the role of the Sherpa to decide which path to follow.
Mm-hmm.
It's the choice of the customer or the manager or the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Sherpa is just there to help them on the mountain, to climb the mountain in which way they want. That's why I am a Sherpa, not definitely, or well, evangelism is a part of it. So
yeah, okay, cool. That's great.
That's why I chose Sherpa.
Thanks for the explanation. Thank you.
Okay. Well, okay, here we go with the presentation. I will have to speak a little bit slower than usual, which is really hard for me. So please bear with me. Okay. So my name is Sam Rosbergen. I am a digital Sherpa at Brunel and also a influencer at DASA. So about me, Berk just introduced me. I'm a dad. I have 3 kids. I have been married for 15 years, which feels like 200 years by now, but it's okay. My background is I've been an international gamer since 1999. I've competed in some world championships, and I hosted my own gaming servers and my own websites. I did this on Linux, so I have some technical background from way back. I like to think that I'm an open and a social person. I have an opinion about everything, about literally everything. And I love helping people, organizations, and teams grow. I'm an IT geek, and I started my work at 5 international IT service desks. And there I learned that the customer is always the most important in any organization. After those service desks, I've worked for 13 plus years as an ITIL manager, and these roles have prepared me for working in a DevOps type of way. Oh, shoot, sorry. The last one is my first connection or my first work with DevOps started at ABN AMRO. I helped the bank transform from traditional and agile ways of working to DevOps. And now I'm a consultant for international companies. They ask me about transformation strategies. They ask me about DevOps implementations. I'm not focused on tooling. I'm more focused on helping the organization with its cultural change. Okay, so I want to take a little trip to help us understand how humans handle work. And we will start here with the car industry. So if you look at 1869, the first cars were made. It took people with specialized skills to make these cars. You needed an electrician, you needed a carpenter. These people were trained specifically for this work. And you can imagine that creating a car like this took a lot of time. Then in the 1920s, we came into the mass production phase, the Model T Ford, where the owner, Ford, said, you can have any color as long as it's black. So there was no variation in the colors. The work was done on production lines, and the work was easy enough to switch different people doing the work. Then in the 1960s, we started entering the mass customization phase. That meant that we could customize mass-produced products. So in this case, we could choose a color or different tires, or a different roof even, like a hard top or a soft top. If you look at IT development, in the 1950s, we had the artisanal production phase, where you needed specialized people to create the cables, the plastics, and the enclosures. Then in the 1980s, we entered the mass production phase. Lots of people started buying and using PCs more. Not everybody had one, but at least they were produced en masse. And then in 2007, we entered the mass customization phase. And usually this is where I ask a question about this, but since it's a webinar where I just talk, the mass customization phase, if you look at it, really started with the iPhone. And it's not because of the phone, but it's more about the apps on the phone. You could really self-customize the phone and the apps on it. So from 2007 on, we needed support. If we needed faster and better support. If one of these apps broke or didn't work anymore, then every software had to be supported differently. So how do we get there? How do we do better support for all these different kinds of apps? If you look at the history of DevOps, then you have three streams. It's the project streams, which started in 1975 with Prompt. And in 1989, we had Prince, up till now, Prince 2. If you look at the development in software development, we moved from waterfall in 1970 to lean in 2003. In 1989 till now, we also figured out that it would be good if we had standard processes for requests, incidents, and changes. And the best practices in England started to become ITIL. And ever since that, we also have standard operations for IT support. If you look at this all these different fields of work are combined into what DevOps is right now. Also taking into account that lean production, and that's why I started with the car production. Lean production is also covered in DevOps. We are also using lean in software development. We are also using lean in IT operations. So all these combined form DevOps, and it's been around since 2006, 2007. You can imagine that, sorry. You can imagine that there are some differences between development teams and operations teams, and that it's really hard to just combine these two. They're still different. They usually use different tools. They usually do use different environments. They sometimes still get different training. And that confusion between those two parties, right in the middle there, we call that the wall of confusion. It's where one part of the wall does not understand or does not have the understanding to help the other wall. If you look at these two, this split, you can also see that one party is more focused on stability, and the other part, the development part, is focused more on creativity and innovation. If you look at the differences between Agile and DevOps, to me, if you look at this, the business is responsible for having an idea, doing market research, doing cost income analysis, and defining a product scope. If you look at what the development team does, it's more the product development, more the product testing, more the product delivery, and the feedback loops. You know, how is this product used? Is this product that we delivered, does this suit the business needs? And to me, that is the part where Agile stops, actually. Because usually, to me, Agile stops at the production environment. They deliver a finished product, and then, you know, they deploy it into the live environment, production environment, and then they go back to their Scrum methods or their backlog or whatever. Quality assurance, delivery testing, automation, and monitoring response is usually still done by operations and even security operations. If you combine all this, to me, that is what DevOps is really about. And you can see that DevOps as a name for this movement really doesn't cover it anymore, because it should be about the customer, the business trying to understand that customer or even being the customer, the developers and operations people working together to do security checks, to do testing, to do QA on the software, to do compliance, to do automation, and eventually go back to the business, and even if you can, go back to the customer to create a closed feedback loop. So there's a lot of people in my working field that are saying DevOps is a good movement, but the name itself is really wrong at this point because it should cover everything. Then we have some tools that could help you. This is maintained by Digital AI. It started at Xabia. It's a periodic table of all the different tools that are available in DevOps land. My focus mainly is in the brownish yellow part, which is called AI Ops or Analytics. If you look there on the left side, you can see companies and products like Dynatrace, AppDynamics, and Splunk. These are usually the toolings that get log files, that get performance scanning of your tools, of your delivery platforms, everything. These are really important to me because my background is an operation manager and my background is less in development. So that's why I'm specialized in this yellowish, brownish AI Ops Analytics part. Another part is where I'm really focused on is the yellow part, which is called issue tracking and ITSM, IT service management. Those are the tools on the right bottom side, like ServiceNow, like Trello, like Atlassian, Jira. These are the tools that can help you with ticketing. These are the tools that can help you with incident management. So again, because of my operations background, these are the tools that I'm really interested in. Yeah, this is one of the things that could help you if you're looking for standardized and best practice tools for these different parts of the DevOps industry. Then another tool that could probably help you, or maybe help you, DASA has a alliance with the Agile Navigator App, Agile Nav app, which is an app on your phone. You can use it to keep up to date with your knowledge. You can do some quizzes. There's DevOps information on there from DASA. And as you can see, it's a really nice app to have. It's a really quick wiki type of app that can really use you, that you can really use in a daily in daily operations, actually. If you just want to find out what an artifact is in Scrum, for instance, you can really look that up quite easily. Okay, another tool is webinars, white papers. This one is one I did. It's called the 8 Keys to a Successful DevOps Transformation. And it shows in 2 layers the work that can be done. And in the webinar, I talk about all these specific parts, reorganizing logically, creating the needed technology, and assessing DevOps maturity, for instance. I also make the distinction specifically between what the management layers should be doing or could do and what the whole organization could do. So if you're interested in that, you can watch the webinar. Another tool is designing teams. If your organization has a need for a clear border or a clear designation between the work of teams, you can use this. A platform team that delivers IaaS or PaaS as a service, and the business system teams using these platform teams to deliver products. So for instance, a platform team could be an Azure cloud team that delivers a sandbox environment or a determined environment, predetermined environment, sorry, for teams to work on. So the platform team would be responsible for cost efficiency, so that the teams don't start up 101 different instances, for instance. The platform team is also responsible for stability of the cloud environments. It could also be very helpful to have network people there, for instance. If you look at advanced team designs, you can use team topologies. They have 4 major distinctions. They talk about stream aligned teams, or SATs, if you do use the abbreviation. These are the teams that build or apps or parts of apps. So for instance, Spotify teams, the stream could be the search function in Spotify, for instance. You also have enabling teams. Enabling teams are more teams that support the stream aligned teams. So you could probably think of these as architecture, like architects, for instance, like a team that handles architecture. Why would you split this? Because maybe from a cost viewpoint, it would not be handy to have an architect in every single team. It would be nice to have a team of architects keeping the whole vision of the vision of the whole company in check. You can also have complicated subsystem teams. These are also there to help the stream-aligned teams. They can help with difficult tasks or integration of tools, like a team specific for CI/CD tooling, integration tools, maybe development specified specific development tools. And then as the last one, the same one that DASA talks about in the DASA Fundamentals course, the platform team. This platform team can be a cloud platform team, like I said, but it can also be a no-code platform or something like a Mendix platform, or you could even, if you take it broadly, you could even call a service management tool a platform, like for instance, ServiceNow. You could use that platform team if you're creative or if it fits your company. To me, the most important part is that you are pragmatic with your design of your company. Use whatever fits your company and then experiment from there. It's not helpful if you try to implement a Spotify model if that just doesn't work for your company. So please always check what kind of model would fit your company and then start experimenting in small teams, and then do it the same way as you would do with experimenting with the development of a new app, for instance. You take a small team, a small motivated team, and then you work the change in your organization from that team. If they are successful, then you can spread it to other teams. If they're not successful, then you could try something else and maybe use that team for another, like SAFe or maybe something else, maybe a simplified version of this. Then I would like to talk about a little bit about DASA. I am a DASA influencer. That means that I can talk a whole lot and get invited to events. And one of my mottos is talk more and work less. So that's why I'm really happy to be associated with DASA, especially because, you know, DASA DevOps is really something that I really have a passion for. And I'm thankful that I can help thought leadership in this area of work. You can read this if you want. For me, DASA really is a community of like-minded people that want to work and enhance the DevOps, the DevOps, the DevOps thought leadership, actually, basically. We do a lot of white papers. We have a Q&A section on our site where we answer questions that are asked of DASA and of the ambassadors and the influencers. What we want to do is basically help the world develop high performance IT teams. One of the tools that DASA has is the competence scan. The competence scan is a question list that you fill in the website, and you will get a profile from that. The spider web is filled in with your specific profile. You get scored on the 4 knowledge areas and the 8 other areas. For instance, it's helpful if you have the courage to be open-minded and social and speak about things that you can see as potential improvements. On the other hand, technical skills are also really quite helpful in a team, like continuous delivery skills. So every one of these people have their own skill map that they filled in. And I know of one of the companies that I work for is they use this competence scan and this model to create specific teams so that they know that what knowledge is required of teams, and they can also determine what skills and what skill areas could need some more development. So for instance, one of the companies I work for, they went to a team and asked the team to determine what they thought was needed as in the skills in the spider web. Then they had everybody fill in the competence scan, and then they merged that together as the team competence scan. And that way they could compare what they thought the skills were needed and what they actually have as skills being provided by the team at this moment. That way you can do gap analysis, and then you can focus specifically on training these skills in the team. So the competence scan is really there to help teams pinpoint what skills are still needed in the team. How do we do that? If you look at these 4 different trainings that we have here in the spiderweb, one of them is enable and scale, which is the red one. One of them is the blue one, specify and verify. The fundamentals part is the dark blue one in the middle. The circle around it is the DevOps leader, DevOps coach, and DevOps product owner. These are all trainings that can help your organization start or continue on these DevOps transformations. I'm happy to announce that we will probably finish the DevOps leader courseware in the next coming months. And we're also doing test runs on this DevOps professional specify and verify at the moment. So this whole training package is getting better at the moment, and it's really progressing. Well, then I would like to thank you for your time. Thanks for the invite. Well, if you need anything in the field of DevOps, I'm available. If you have any questions, if you want to have more information about DASA itself, I do the fundamentals training. I do the DevOps coach training. I'm going to start with the leadership training as soon as possible. So if you need any of these trainings, please let me know. And to add onto that, I'm also available to do the Phoenix Project Business Sims, which is a business simulation, actually a serious game type of thing, where we simulate the advancements in DevOps, or the benefits of DevOps, actually. So
thank you very much, Sam.
Okay, yeah,
it was a great presentation.
Okay,
maybe you can tell us more about the Phoenix project business simulation, because it's something not very well known here in Turkey.
Sure.
What is the value proposition of the Phoenix project? Why we need it?
Well, first off, it's based on the book Phoenix Project, and that book really shows a transformation of a traditional company towards a high-performing IT DevOps type of company. So that's a really interesting book to read. This simulation is based on that book, on that storyline. It's used for teams to create awareness about what DevOps is and how you could implement it on a team level. But we also use it for upper management. If they think DevOps is good for their company, what we do is we usually do a session with these upper management people, and then then we show them the profits or the benefits actually of working in a DevOps kind of way. So for both teams as upper management, this kind of business gaming, actually, besides that it's just fun to do, it also gives a more practical side to implementing DevOps, and it really sparks discussions. At the moment that you're doing that game, you can really feel teams discussing things like responsibility. Okay, I play a operation person, but I don't get any changes, or nobody's talking to me about what I should support and what products we're delivering. So it's really it's like a real life situation, but then in a game, and it really sparks some useful conversations.
That's great.
And we can give them locally, which I prefer because I love to travel to Turkey, but we can also give them online.
Cool, that's great. And also, as I know, Phoenix project is something game changer, very mind opener for especially different units that demands from IT, and also for the upper management to see the big picture and the need for collaboration while doing demands from business units and also requirement for the continuous improvement. That's something very unique. And I also recommend Phoenix project, also book and the business simulation. I have sent the links on the chat window already for people who are interested.
I also see a question in the chat.
There are some questions. The question there is maybe advanced. Let's start from the from the very beginning. We have also Slido. Okay. The first one I would like to ask: can we join DASA individually?
Yes, if you want to. You can join DASA as an expert on a certain field. Like for instance, if you're an expert at Kubernetes or Docker or something, you are free to join and write white papers about it, or do webinars, or be a technical expert. For the most part, DASA at this point is still...
Is there a problem with the connection?
Not that I know. Can you hear me?
Hi, Sam, I can hear you. I think something's wrong with Berg.
Okay.
Just wait for a second, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Berg, can you hear us?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's gone.
We lost him.
Just wait for a second. Yeah. I think he will be coming back. Huh?
Okay.
Okay, he's back. Back, can you hear me?
Now he's muted.
Hi, hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm back again. I guess connection issues. I think this will work. I couldn't get the answer, but I think you answered, right? And people heard.
Yeah, I stopped mid sentence. But yeah, if you want to contribute to DASA, get in touch with me or our new community manager. I will share the contact details with Berg, and he can share it with the rest.
That's great. That's cool. And the other one, what is more different in your experiences applying engineering practices or cultural change in the organization? I think they wanted to ask which one is harder, applying the culture or changing the engineering infrastructure architecture or something.
Yeah. Okay. It's both very important. If there's a law that's called Conway's Law, and it states that the way that your organization is organized will also be the way that you are delivering products. So if you have an organization that has a data center team and a database team and a front end team and a support desk, then you will create applications that are split into these designs. So the best way to change this organization and the way you deliver products is that you have to do it at the same time. You have to do both culture and your team or organization reorganization at the same time. And that's why I said it's best if you have the same as in software development. It's best if you have one team that you can give specific tools, specific rights, and maybe even specific training for them to figure out how to best work that new way of working in the company.
That's cool. Great. Thank you. And it's not here, but I want to ask, it's a reputable question. Do you think there should be a role, a guy, he or she, in the company called DevOps engineer? It's an ultimate question, I think.
Well, it's hard because a DevOps engineer is really a good title because you would have a person that has a specific job set, right?
Mhm,
That could be, but the thing is that it's important that you have all the skills that you need to deliver your
mhm,
application or your search function or whatever in the
mhm,
team. My
mhm,
problem with a profile like a DevOps engineer
mhm,
is that managers think they have a developer and they have an operation person, and these work 8 hours a day. But if you call this a DevOps engineer, then all of a sudden you only need one person to do the same work.
We pay less, right?
You pay less, and it's not how it works. It's just not how it works. So yes, for profiling and for showing that you have specific skill sets and for
Mhm,
fitting in a team, I would say perfect. But for managers that use Excel reports as a weapon, to
mhm,
fire
mhm,
people,
mhm,
then it's not good. And these are the type of discussions that I have with upper management, saying
mhm,
that you would still need the same amount of people. You just
mhm.
make a better distinction between the work that all these people are doing. So you make it more clear what the responsibilities are of these people in the team.
Cool. Maybe we can talk more on the practical DevOps team. You also presented in your material the DevOps responsibilities for different individuals. For business development teams, you also need, am I right? DevOps responsibilities, building your application from mindset to grave, from very beginning to end. You need to have that responsibility
Yeah.
to make it live. But there should be also another team called platform team, providing the platform, let's say the orchestration tool, let's say configuring the firewall, preparing the persistent volumes or something
Yeah.
like that. They, you mentioned they provide efficiency also and standardization, and maybe there might be some ambiguity between those. Can you please tell us more about the distinct responsibilities on those teams?
Well, it's what the organization needs. Again, you have to be pragmatic about it. If you work at a bank, then it's
Mhm,
really, I would say it's needed that at least one person in a team thinks about compliance.
mhm,
Um, Unless it doesn't make sense because it takes too little time for it to make sense to have a person dedicated for this. So if you need to pay one person to just be there for 2 hours in a sprint, then it doesn't make sense. So then it would make sense to have a compliance team that sort of works as a expert subsystem team, like I said, to support this best practice in this case for that team.
mhm,
Um, it's really what helps. For instance, at a bank I worked, they worked with two different cloud platform teams, one for Azure, one for AWS. And they made the distinction there to deliver services as IaaS, so infrastructure as a service, and have the responsibility for some teams in IaaS, and the other ones were working on PaaS. So then you need different skills in a team, and then you determine what skills are needed and how you create that team. So it's always the pragmatic approach to what does your company need, what kind of products do you deliver, and how do you think it's best to implement the same tools, to not have 25 different tools for 25 different teams.
That's great. That's great. Actually, in summary, you need experience to design those formation, those responsibilities. So it might be useful to get some help from consultancy teams or from other, maybe, I'm not sure, from subject matter experts to do it. It's not very easy. It requires a little experience and knowledge in the area. Yeah, that's cool.
There's one thing that I want to add to
Sure.
hiring external consultants. Cultural change and organizational change is something that is continuous. It's not we fly in a consultant and he helps us be different and helps us change the organization, and then he leaves and then we're changed.
Yeah, absolutely. They are not wizards, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not somebody flies in and helps you and then leaves and everything is solved. That's not the way it works.
Yeah, this is the expectation in general, but it's not. I may add also something. You need an absolute upper management commitment, the will for transformation, and the acceptance of the people in the organization to change. It's very fundamental, top and bottom commitment, will, and acceptance for transformation, for any change, which is very fundamental. Yeah. Okay, so another one. Please name 3 important DevOps KPIs. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for me, one is always something like mean time to repair because of my operations background. So how fast do we recover from stuff that we break?
Okay, the first one.
Yeah. Deployment frequency could be one, which is often named as a very important one, but it doesn't really make sense to check deployment frequency if you just break stuff faster. If you deploy really fast and you break your production environment every time you deploy really fast, so 25 times a day, maybe over exaggerated, then this KPI does not make sense. If you deploy quality, then deployment frequency really makes sense. You can look at deployment time. That's the same story. You can look at change failure rate, deployment failure rate. All these kind of KPIs really help you, but again, be pragmatic about it. Check what the team really wants to deliver, how they deliver that, and then focus on those metrics that are important for the quality and the team. For instance, if we have a manager that focuses on sprint velocity for something, sprint velocity to me doesn't say anything. The whole point of what I think is that we made sprint velocity is that we can be stable and that we can be reliable in delivering value to our customer. Not that we try to exponentially always deliver stuff faster, because that usually also means that we break stuff faster because we're focusing on speed rather than quality.
Thank you. And you mentioned DASA is the biggest community working in DevOps domain, and there are many offerings of DASA, and one of them is the 6 principles.
Yes.
Can you please tell about those principles and the idea behind?
Yep. So there's 6 principles, like you said. One is customer-centric action, which came across in my presentation. The whole feedback loop from customer and business, their idea You have all these teams working with this to get this value done for the business or the customer. So that's customer-centric action. What does the customer want? What does he need? And what do we do to deliver that? The second one is create with the end in mind. And this is more about product and service thinking, collaboration. What are we delivering and how we should deliver it. Third principle is end-to-end responsibility, which is living your accountability, taking your responsibility, and really thinking about concept to grave type of thing. So if you develop an app for something that let's say that you develop it on a cloud platform that you know is going to end, then it's very wise to think, okay, do we stop the development of this application, or do we move it to another cloud? But then still, you would have to think about, concept to grave on this particular cloud environment. The fourth principle is cross-functional autonomous teams. So again, what we talked about is that you have all the skills in a team available to deliver the product or the part of the product or the search function or something. You have T-shaped people, or you have pie-shaped people, or you have comb-shaped people like a hair comb, with all these different specialities to deliver the product that your customer or your business needs. The fifth principle is continuous improvement, which is not only in your work processes, but also in your mindset. It's a healthy thing to try to be better every day in your relationship, in your relation with your kids, in your work environment, in your social environment. Sometimes a hard thing to do, but that's also, again, experimenting and being courageous enough to try this, to try different things, to expand your friend circle, for instance, to go travel, to go to Turkey, for instance, try new things and get better because of it. And the last one is automate everything you can. It's about maximizing flow. In DevOps, we also talk often about one-piece flow. So focusing on delivering one product or one specific component of that product, and really enhancing quality of that particular stuff or that particular process. Because if you focus on something and you keep your focus there, there's a better chance for quality than if you do 15 things at the same time. A lot of studies show that humans just can't do more than 2 or 3 things at the same time. So these are the 6 principles that DASA promotes, and these 6 principles are based upon the best practices of, I think, thousands of companies that we talk to.
Thank you very much. And another question, how can large-scale organizations get ready for production quickly with DevOps transformation? Maybe we can translate this question into what should be the roadmap for big enterprises in terms of DevOps?
Yeah, again, experimenting with a small team, allowing them to try. From a management perspective, is empowering this one team to try everything, try different tools, try different cloud environments, try different work processes. This little team, this little village, in this really big empire, should be helped as much as possible to run into walls. Maybe they want to try something and they run into a compliancy wall, or they want to try something and there's no budget for a tool, or they want to try something and they don't have the skills in the team to do it. If you do it from this little perspective, it just works better, because if you try to move like the same thing in the Suez Canal, right? If you try to move a big tanker or a big transport ship and it's this large, it will take a while to move. If it's a speedboat or maybe a water jet ski or something, it's better to maneuver. It's better to experiment with. So
Yes.
like software development, start small and improve incrementally.
That's cool. We all know organization transformation culture is important, but people are curious about tools, Sam. Can you please name a tool chain, a proven one? Maybe let's say Docker, Kubernetes, XYZ. What is your favorite proven tool stack for people who wants the name?
Okay, well, that's a difference because I'm not technical. So again, I will give you advice based on my experience. I don't know which cluster or containerization tool is the best. What I know is what the technicians advise me for a certain company. What I know is that we used different cloud environments and then used stuff like cube something to check for code security things. SonarCube, we check secure coding, for instance. If it's another application that does the same thing and it fits within your tool chain, use that. So I'm not a tool enthusiast for technical orchestration, but I'm really a fan of ServiceNow because it has integration with almost everything. Because it's
absolutely everything. Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah. Absolutely everything, right?
Almost everything. Yeah. I can't play Lego with my ServiceNow platform yet, but maybe they will do that later. So yeah, again, my experience is with monitoring. So, App Dynamics I'm really a fan of. Splunk is really amazing. Dynatrace. These are the companies that provide you with information that gives you feedback on the usage of your product. It helps you focus your incident management better. If you have an incident, you can check the logs, you can check dashboards, you can check presentations or whatever. And then you can find the problem easier, and you can help your customer recover from incidents easier. So these are my expert fields. I can't help you with Kubernetes preferences or technical solutions or that's not me, sorry.
Okay, cool. I have sent the links from CNCF Cloud Native Computing Foundation. They provide and name bunch of tools, especially in the landscape. There's a hell of tools. It's very so much. And also, for God's sake, we have trail map. There are less tools on that. And also you mentioned about periodic table of DevOps tools, and that thing, the periodic table, maybe guide people for different aims, for let's say logging, for monitoring. There are some popular and proven tools. Maybe they can try, they can maybe investigate to integrate into their tool stack. But it takes some time. It requires some efforts to select the right one which works for them.
Can you see the DevOps roadmap that I just searched for? Can you see this in the presentation screen? Or do you still?
I can see the last one. Thank you slide.
Oh, okay. Let me just. How do we do this? Okay, that's too bad. Okay. Well, then it's okay. But there's on the internet, there is a skill roadmap that's made by, I think it's an Indian guy, that shows a DevOps roadmap for trainings on specific technical stuff. It can be found on http roadmap.sh. I will try to copy this and put it in the chat. No, I can't do that.
It is very ugly PNG, right?
Yeah. but it's really
not fancy, but it's very useful.
yeah, that's what I provide.
DevOps
If they
roadmap.
ask, yeah, if they ask for, I just put it in the chat. If somebody asks me about technical stuff to learn, this is a starting point. It's not the it's not the answer to everything, but it's a nice starting point.
Yeah, cool. We have many things to discuss. I have many questions to ask, but we don't have so much time. I will ask maybe a few more. What about the certification? Do you advise DASA certifications? If so, why?
Okay. I don't know specifically if we have Turkish trainers. So if you're interested in that, then yeah, please get in contact with us. But I do know that we have English speaking trainers. I can deliver it in Dutch if you want. I don't know if you will understand it, but I can do it in Dutch or English.
Actually, we provide in Turkish. Yeah.
Oh, you already provided. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, we're working on expanding the portfolio as well. There are some colleagues of mine working on privacy and security in a DevOps world. And these are experts in the field of privacy and security. So they will be adding their knowledge to the portfolio of DASA, hopefully. For myself, I'm working with a university to provide a DevOps certification, which, as far as I know, is the world's first. So I hope to start that hopefully, maybe the Q1 of 2022, so next year. That will give a lot of, hopefully a more serious position in the world for, like, it's an official university certificate or sub-certificate. So I hope this adds to the DevOps environment or DevOps world.
Okay, that's great. And maybe one last question. What is the biggest challenge you ever faced in terms of DevOps?
Okay, it's good that you specified, because I would say my kids is the biggest challenge ever. But okay, well, let's talk about
I
DevOps.
thought that it's same for me.
But let's talk about DevOps. The biggest challenge is, I would say, the upper management, because usually, and I'm really generalizing here, so please bear with me, usually these are older men, and these older men have been trained in a top-down command and control type of structure. They have been doing this type of work top-down for 10, 20 years. They're really used to giving an order and everybody just doing what they say. Now we're in a culture that we really teach our kids to maybe question everything, and work together and really challenge everything that is standard, or maybe answer every question. We used to answer every question because I say so, or because it's the way it is. But we're now living in a world where it's really difficult. It's probably the most difficult part of history for managers and leaders to lead people, because there are so many different types of management that you need. You have to be open and social. You have to be technical sometimes to challenge the engineers. You have to be politically aware, and you have to change your mindset from a command and control type of mindset to more a mission type of mindset. You have to be more open. You have to be more social. You have to know more about the background of your engineering teams, of your people that are working for you. It's, like I said, it's the most difficult part in history for a leader or a manager to be in. So this is where, you need coaches. If it's an agile coach, transformation coach, DevOps coach, whatever, name it how you want to name it. But if you have a good coach that can help slowly change the management perspective of the C-level or upper management people, then they're not only motivated to do DevOps, but they also understand that they also help the rest of the organization change. So this is for me the most difficult part.
That's great. That's great. I think similar to you. And from my point of view, it's very hard for upper management to change. They should not let people go away. They should not let their staff to give up, but they also need to have teams aligned, which is very important.
Yes.
Yeah, autonomy is something very important. Self-organizing teams very useful, but the alignment is crucial for especially big companies or enterprises. They need a strategy to compete in the market, and also they need to give freedom to people to do what actually, not literally, but I mean, you will understand what they want to do, let's say in professional. So it's very hard. Yeah, it will take some decades, I think, to adapt this new type of economy, new type of business environment.
For sure.
That's cool.
Yep.
And I think we don't have any more questions. If you have any questions, please send to Slido and
I have another
Q&A
question
part.
here. I have a question here in the chat. It's which trainings of DASA would you recommend to agile coaches to support their teams more efficiently?
Yeah. I have seen that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I would say obviously the DevOps coach one. But if you're really already an agile coach that is trained, and you're already working as an agile coach, and you already know psychological models to support change within an organization, I would say the training would be a waste of your time, because you are probably going to hear a lot of the same stuff. The value addition to the DevOps coach training is more that you are in a group of like-minded people that want to be a DevOps coach, and you work through scenarios that either the participants bring into the training or that the trainers are giving you. So you can have a practical implementation of how you would use coaching models and how you would use certain psychological models to enable change or to get better performance from teams. So yeah, that's it. If you're an experienced agile coach with the training, I would say no. But if you are looking for specific scenarios that you would like to check with your peers, then I would say, yeah, of course, a DevOps coach training would be very good for you.
Thank you very much. I think we have run out of time. Thanks for everything, Sam.
No worries.
Thanks for joining us today. I think it was very informative and useful presentation and Q&A. I hope to host you again here in Talks or in another conference. I hope you enjoyed also.
For sure.
Thanks for the people who participated today, and see you soon.
Okay, thank you for your time, and feel free to connect with me or ask me questions on LinkedIn, for instance. But thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure to have you. See you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye.